Your cold call can be perfect, your cold email could be a masterpiece, and your cold DMs could be so good that they make grown adults cry. And none of it will matter, not even a little bit, if it lands in front of the wrong person. Most of the sellers I train want to know the best templates, the best scripts, the best openers, the best tactics, the best channels. And don't get me wrong, all of that stuff matters, but it comes second. Because even if you're great at executing on every single outbound channel, if you're targeting the wrong leads to begin with, then you're just delivering incredible content to people who could not care less. So in this video, I want to help you fix that. I'm going to walk through how to identify the best fit companies and contacts regardless of what you sell. Highlight how you can spot signals that will allow you to identify the people who are most likely to be buying right now. And I'll walk you through a step-by-step process of how I do this and the tools that I use, including AI. And if you don't know me, my name is Will Aitken. I teach people how to do outbound sales, prospecting, lead generation, and how to be less terrible at it. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. We put out weekly content on how to sell better. So before you can build a great list, you need to know what you're looking for. And I know that sounds basic, but most people don't quite understand. You really need to know what you're looking for. That begins with a really clear ICP. Not just we sell to tech companies with 50 to 500 employees. That's not an ICP, that's just a vibe. There are two layers to drill down to get a really good ICP. The first is the company, firmographics. What does a company look like when they're a great fit for your product or service? I'm talking all the stuff that you probably see as filters in all the lead generation platforms, size of company, by employees, by revenue, industry, geographic location, number of offices, existing tech stack, funding or growth stage, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, small, big, medium, B2B, B2C, a department headcount of a certain size. The stuff that you can actually filter for. The mistake I see people make at this stage is they cast a really broad net. They're trying to compensate for some of the outliers who might buy from them one day. But by doing that, they end up diluting the message to the people who could be a really good fit. Basically, instead of hedging for the 10% of people of this industry who might end up buying, you're better off doubling down on the 90% of people in this industry who are actually a really good fit and could get value from your product. I'll take myself, for example. I sell sales training to B2B sales teams. Technically, consulting, staffing firms, and those types of industries are B2B companies. They're selling a service to another company. However, I know a lot of those companies lack a dedicated sales function. They're basically built up of consultants whose only part of their job is to do sales. And I also know that when I do get those people's attention, even when I'm able to book a meeting with them, the close rate is much lower than when I sell to a traditional sales motion who are selling a product, a device, or a software. So although they sometimes buy from me, I would much rather focus all my attention on the people who I know are really good fit people and exclude those folks there. Cut, optimize for the rule, not the exception. Now, once you know what companies you're going after, you're going to have to try and find the people at those companies who are worth speaking to. Here's the second mistake I see a lot of sellers make. They just go for the top dog, the top brass, the person who's probably going to sign the contract in the end, the C-level or the VP. However, if you're a B2B seller, you know that most deals involve more than one person. And by putting all of your eggs in that one basket, trying to reach out to the most senior, hardest to reach, most busy, and most likely to ignore you at an organization, you're basically squandering the opportunity to speak to people who actually could also get a deal started for you, who are maybe lower down in the organization. In my book, Gap Prospecting, we presented what we call the problem sensitivity chart. On the Y vertical axis is the problem sensitivity. How much does any given individual at a company care about that problem, how much they own it, how much of their role revolves around it. And then on the X horizontal axis is the power in the organization, meaning that someone on the high end of power, what they say goes, they can sign off on things, they probably have a dedicated budget, and there's someone on the low end of the spectrum has literally no decision-making ability whatsoever. They don't even have a company credit card. Now, when we split this graph into 4 quadrants, it's pretty obvious the people who are the best fit are the folks who have a lot of power and a lot of problem sensitivity. But there isn't just going to be one person in that square, especially if you're selling to organizations with more than, let's say, 50 employees. In these cases, although they may not all be in the top right, they're probably still in that quadrant when they have the power and influence to begin evaluation and still care about the problem. These are your ideal fit prospects, and there's rarely just one person in this quadrant unless you sell to very, very small organizations. Now in the top left, you're going to have those people who care about the problem, they see it every day, but they don't have as much power in the organization to inflict change. These people are still worth talking to because they can actually be your champions, or they can refer you to the right people, or they can just give you information that will allow you to speak to those people in the top right of the quadrant in a much more informed manner. In the bottom right-hand quadrant, you're getting to find those people who have a lot of power in the organization, but maybe don't own that specific problem or opportunity that you can help solve for your customers. These people are going to be people who can refer you across to the right person. Oftentimes you're going to find CEOs and other C-suites in here who could point you in the right direction or directly introduce you to the right person who does own the problem. And in the bottom left are the people who are worth discarding. They have very little power, they don't feel the problem much at all. In any given organization, you might actually be targeting 7 different people with 7 different messages at any one point in time, especially if you want to get noticed. So map out your buyers, and then you can create personas and segments for them that speak to what they care about. So let's pretend you've done that. You've figured out that your ICP is security leaders, engineers, SecOps people at high compliance organizations that do over $1 billion in revenue every year, thinking banks, telcos, companies with lots of consumer data. If we do a quick search in Sales Navigator for that, we only get 30,000 results. Wow, I've got a lot of work to do, better get to it. No, we are not going to try and reach out to 30,000 people. If we try to reach out to all of those people, there is zero chance that we can reach out to all of those people with any semblance of relevant messaging. So what we need to do is narrow this down some more so we can be speaking to a very tight segment of this total addressable market. Your ICP tells you who your buyers could be, but signals tell you who's more likely to be buying right now. And right now matters a lot because timing and outbound is everything. So signals, I bucket these into 3 main categories: triggers, intent, and familiarity. Let's start with triggers. These are observable signs, changes, events that suggest a company could be more in need of your product or service than anyone else. Now, these aren't guarantees. They're just basically data points that allow you to build a hypothesis that says, hey, if I see this is happening, then I imagine this also might be important to you right now as well, and we just so happen to help with that. It could be an external event, an industry event, new funding, new executive team, an acquisition, product launches, bad reviews, expansion to a new market, competitor activity, basically anything that changed. And we know change typically causes problems that you might be able to help solve. Now, triggers can also include direct evidence that someone is facing a problem or has an opportunity as well. If you sell marketing services, a trigger might be that they are spending money on ads, but they're not actually ranking right now. Or that they just relaunched their website. Or you could use a web tracking analytics tool and see that they've got a high bounce rate on the website. All of those would be triggers that would allow you to reach out and potentially say, hey, I've seen this, thought you might be running into this. Or if you sell sales training or sales technology, it might be that they've just posted 5 new SDR roles. It might be that they've got high seller turnover or bad reviews on sites like Glassdoor or RepView. Or it could just be that they've just hired their first ever sales enablement hire. If you sell cybersecurity managed services, it might be that they had a recent breach, or they've just made an acquisition and merging lots of tools together, or they've just launched an ad for a SecOps role, and somewhere in that ad it said a piece of technology that's really, really tough to secure against. I don't know much about security, obviously. Now, what makes triggers gold is often these show up long before the buying window opens up, so it allows you to get to customers early before they start evaluating tools and looking at solutions. And generally, the first to show up is often the one to win the deal. And what's more, you can use them in outreach really naturally just by saying, hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you right now because I've seen this. And because of that, a lot of people run into this problem when that happens. It basically writes your cold call script or your cold email template for you. Now, these triggers are going to be very unique depending on what you sell. I went through a few examples there. If someone's hiring in SecOps, that doesn't really bother me if I'm selling sales training, for example. What I'd recommend doing is first of all, going to your CRM, looking at your existing customers who have bought from you and looking for what changes happened to their organization before they considered buying from you. Then go out and look for people who are experiencing that same change. If you don't have any existing customers or you don't have that data available to you, you can always use your AI preferred tool, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and ask it, hey, what are 30 things that I could see online as an outsider that would suggest that someone is more in need of a product like the one I sell? Half of them be crap, but half of them might be worth testing out as a way to improve your targeting and layer on signals. The second category of signals is intent. Now, this is data that basically says someone is looking into and researching tools like yours. They might be coming directly to your website. They might be going on your competitor's website. They might be Googling this type of service or this type of tool. They might even be posting directly on LinkedIn, asking people for recommendations on a certain tool or service. Now, to see these things, you often need a tool or piece of tech that allows you to do this, like ZoomInfo or 6sense or UserGems. That will allow you to see intent and get website analytics and tracking visitors and people see who's searching what in what places. They're often very expensive. But if you have this available, it's a great way to prioritize your leads. I would not recommend reaching out to these leads and saying, hey, I've seen you've been looking into solutions like this, because it's kind of like spyware and creeps them out a little bit, but it's definitely a good way to prioritize the leads you're reaching out to, prioritizing the ones who are showing the most intent first. The third category of signals is a familiarity signal. So these are people who are going to be most familiar with you, your product, your company, or maybe a customer that you already work with. The reason these signals are worth looking for is because half the challenge when you're reaching out to someone cold is that they see you as a total stranger. So when you can bank in on anything that they might be familiar with, you actually earn a bit of trust and get a bit more time with them. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to need your product, but it means that they're much more likely to pay you attention when you reach out to them via email and via cold calls. A couple of examples of these might be that they're a past user of your product or service. It might be that they evaluated your product or service in the past. It might be that they downloaded assets or follow your company on LinkedIn or are connected with one of your executives. It might be that they are in an adjacent space to one of your current customers and therefore will recognize that customer's name and you can use that as the way to get your foot in the door. Now I could have listed literally hundreds of more signals in this little section here, but it would take way too long and we'd be here for hours. So instead what I've done is included a list below of over 200 signals that you might be able to use to improve your targeting. Hopefully there's some ideas in there that can help you. Link in the description if you want to check that out. Okay, so now you know your ICP, you know the people you want to reach at those companies, and you know the signals that you might be looking for when you find a company worth reaching out to. This is where I'm going to challenge the way that a lot of sellers think about list building and research. There are two very fundamentally different approaches that I see people taking. I don't think either of them is the right one. I think there's a happy middle ground somewhere in there as well. The first group of people decide that they're going to hand pick every single prospect they're reaching out to. They might spend 30 minutes researching everything there is to know about a company before they even add them to a list or consider reaching out to them. This can work if you're limited in the number of accounts. Let's say if you have 100 key accounts and you sell a big ticket item like something that costs $100, $500, $1 million a year, then that juice might be worth the squeeze. But most sellers don't need to go that deep down the rabbit hole. That's just not an effective use of your time. However, the other end of the spectrum is also not great, where you just literally find a list of, let's say, 30,000 SecOps people and blast them all with the same exact message and treat them all the same. That's going to yield horribly low conversion rates. And instead of crafting a love letter to every single prospect I'm reaching out to, I'm going to create little mini segments, basically little micro lists of similar personas who are experiencing similar changes and signals at the moment. For example, Series C SaaS companies in the US who just hired someone in sales enablement in the last 90 days. Everyone on that list is experiencing the same trigger, the enablement hire. So therefore I can reach out to all of them with a similar type of message that speaks to the change that's happening right now. It's not one-to-one personalized, but is speaking to something that's relevant to their world right now, and it feels a lot more targeted than just an email that could be sent to anyone. Another example, I could look for coffee brands who sell on online marketplaces like Walmart and Amazon. And let's assume one of my biggest customers is Dunkin' Donuts. Well, I could reach out to everyone on that list, let's say the 20 different coffee brands that I identify with similar messaging that speaks to that social proof that I have that I work with one of their competitors. So what you end up with is these micro segmented lists that you can build a cold call for, a cold email for, and that same script, that same template could apply to most of the people on that list because they're all experiencing the same change or all going to be familiar with you or your customer. So that's how you can be relevant without turning into a complete spam cannon. But how do you actually do that? Let's get into the tactical side of things. So first of all, let's talk about tech stack. I tend to use a combination of different tools, but they probably fall into 3 or 4 main categories. The first is LinkedIn and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. This is like the basic tool that you can go to find people who work at businesses, identify companies, identify people who work at those companies and start reaching out to them. However, you're always going to need something that plugs in on top to take those people out of LinkedIn and begin targeting them with email and cold call activity if you're not relying on DMs and InMails. Another tool, or I guess category of tools, is these web scraping and connector tools. There's things like Clay out there. It's a tool that can tie everything together. So you can import a list into a tool like this, and then you can go through it. You can automate all the research, find all the contact data for the people on the list, and do all those things for you automatically. It's a big time saver that wasn't possible just a couple of years ago. Tools like this are very useful, can build a lot of efficiency, but they can be quite complex as well. The third type of tool that kind of crosses over into Clay's world is a data tool. So no matter what, regardless of how you build the list, you're going to need some contact data, emails, phone numbers in order to reach out to those people. These are tools like ZoomInfo, Apollo, LeadIQ, Full Enrich, Prospeo, just to name a few. And some of these tools allow you to do some of the web scraping stuff in Clay and some of the list building stuff that you might see on LinkedIn as well. They all kind of cross over a bit. You could just use one of these tools. You could also use a combo of them, which I'll show you in a minute. The more premium of these tools, like things like ZoomInfo, also allow you to track intent, website visitors, those types of things that we mentioned earlier. And then finally, AI tools. Yes, I use a lot of AI in my prospecting, in my outreach, and especially in my research and list building. It's kind of like your research assistant. You can use this to go out and find information, look up stuff online, format your list, just speed up a lot of the admin tasks when it comes to building a great list. My preferred tool is Claude. I've just found the quality of what it puts out is much higher, and it often understands what I'm looking for with minimal prompting, where I feel like I have to be very prescriptive to the other tools. So those are tools you might want to use, either one or multiple of those in combination. Now let's actually build a list to demonstrate how this all comes together in real time. So my vague ICP is sales leaders at medium to large B2B tech companies that have at least 20 sellers in their team who are based in North America or Europe. If I stick that into LinkedIn, I can see I get 26,000 results. That's far too many companies to reach out to. So for this one, I'm going to use a familiarity signal. I'm going to look for companies who are competing or adjacent to some of my biggest, most successful customers that we've worked with in the past. So I'm going to grab a list of my 15 biggest customers right now. I'm going to throw into Claude. I'm going to ask Claude to identify 10 very similar companies similar size, and ideally sell to a similar persona, if not directly competing with these customers. All right, so it's 12:10. Let's see how long this process takes to build a highly targeted list. And this is one of those great tools that you can use AI for. It's very admin heavy. You could use LinkedIn or just manually look for competitors, but AI is going to do this much, much faster. It's going to format it in a way you can actually use it without a bunch of copying and pasting. So now we have the CSV. It's got 200 companies in there. So I'm going to gut check these, make sure they look like similar companies. All right, yeah, all of those look like pretty good lists. There might be one or two, but that's now where I'm going to enrich this further to narrow down my search to the companies who might actually be growing within this segment. And to do that, what I'm going to do is download this list as a CSV, and I'm going to upload it to a tool called Clay. Get my lookalike list in here, complete my input, and now I can add in new enrichments that I can add to this, find out more information about these companies, look at their size, look at their funding, look at their growth rate, look at if they're shrinking, growing, whatever it may be. So I'm going to add an enrichment here, and I'm going to click Enrich Company, and I'm going to use the website as the identifier. And on this list, we've got 210. So this is going to use up some credits. I'm going to continue to add fields. I'm going to get their total employee count, their industry. I'm also going to find their LinkedIn page as well. I'm going to find their headquarters location. And I'm also going to do their annual revenue. I'm going to save and run the 200 rows that I have in this view. Boom. And just like that, we've almost instantly found out how big these companies are, how many employees they have, and I can quickly find the ones that don't look like great fits. For example, this one here has 12 employees. I can now filter these, filter on this column, and I want to do greater than 100. And just like that, immediately I've now got that list of 210 accounts down to a list of 133 lookalike accounts, because I didn't want to reach out to anyone who's totally small. Now, I also want to create a filter that employee count is lower than 5,000, just because I know that a lot of these larger companies don't often actually care that much about sales training, and also they often have an internal training team, those types of things. It's also an absolute nightmare to sell to these companies because they have a huge procurement process. It's just very hard to break into them. Bada bing, bada boom, we've now got our list down to 124 companies. So now it's like, what else would I want to know about a company to make sure that I'm reaching out to them as a good fit? So I can look for the enrichment options here. So I'm going to look for which of these is currently hiring. And it's just going to tell me basically how many open roles they have on the sales team. So now I'm getting an idea of which of these companies are on a hiring spree, which ones are not. I can add other enrichments here as well, but at this stage, I feel like I've got enough given that they're a lookalike company. So now what I want to do is go ahead and find leads at these companies. Job title, I'm just going to do VP, director, head, and then I'm going to do job functions, sales, business development. Now we have a list of 196 people who match my persona, VP of sales, VP of business development, chief revenue officer, who work at those accounts that we just identified in that previous list. And we have a bunch of information that we can pull in from that previous list as well to see their total growth and that type of thing as well. And we can even use AI to kind of remove some of the fluff in here. For example, sales manager, assistant vice president. Okay, that's fair, but he's in the EU. Head of sales SMB field. Yeah, maybe worth talking to, but I'd rather just talk to the Elevon here, to be honest. At this point, I can add an enrichment. Instead of using the Clay credits, I can now find their work email and their mobile number using my Prospio or Full Enrich plugin. That's going to find all the emails for me. It's going to tell me if they're verified or not. Mobile phone number as well. So boom, just like that. How long was that? Oh, 12:22. So it took me 12 minutes to do that. So now I have a list of 196 people, most of which who have contact details for, emails, phone numbers, who work at one of 200 companies that look just like one of my existing customers. I could now write a cold email or use the exact same cold call script to pretty much all of these companies and reach out to them and say, hey, it's Will over at Sales Growth. Look, you weren't expecting my call, but we've been doing some work recently, and I want to see if you might be running into some of the same challenges that we've been helping them solve. They're going to respond to that email, or they're going to take that cold call. I could have reached out to one of 27,000 accounts. Instead, I'm going to reach out to 120 accounts who are much, much more likely to engage with me based on who we've worked with and similarities to my already proven happy customers. The next step will be to push this to your outreach tool, your CRM, HubSpot, Instantly, Smart Lead, whatever you're using, to begin actually reaching out to these people, making those cold calls, sending those emails and whatnot. This is what beats spray and pray outbound, and it also beats that white glove treatment that people do where they get all weird and write poems and sonnets to one person at one account that can't be used anywhere else. This is the best way to scale. If you have any questions, if you want any advice, if you want to share your ICP with me, drop it down in the comments. I'll give you some ideas of some signals you could be looking for. Don't forget, there is a resource down in the description with a list of over 200 signals that you could start to use in Clay, in LinkedIn, in your outreach tools. And yeah, if this was valuable for you, then please drop a like, subscribe. It really does help the video when people hit that like button, subscribe, and it means I can do more content like this. I now have to call all these leads, so heck, if you'd like to see me cold call these leads and send emails to these leads, drop a comment for that as well, and I'll do it because I like making stuff that people want me to make. All right, folks, thanks for watching. See you next time.